At the beginning of the movie, we see 14-year-old Roger. Let's see those who return home for summer vacation, and his mother comes to pick him up, had sent one of his maids, Sabita, then Roger. Looking at Sabita's bouncing balloons, he becomes quite excited. And Sita, too. I had understood her intentions, but she could not do anything about it. She doesn't say anything and keeps moving like this. Both of them reach the house where Roger's. The whole family welcomed him warmly. And next we see that Roger's there is also a sister, whose name is Bertha, stands watering the plants in front of Roger. Roger's eyes widen upon seeing this remains torn apart and begins to think, what did I see in that buffalo's eye? After that, when Roger thought about all these things, he went to the forest. I was staying there, when suddenly he slipped and fell on a nearby falls into a bush, and there he is, buried. The sound of a girl laughing could be heard. Then he sees that a woman from his own house, maid Ursula, is in the woods with a stranger. I am getting intimate when Ursula Roger, and then she looks at him and starts smiling. Roger gets scared and runs away from there. Then at night, Roger went to have dinner with his family. Afterwards, he goes to his room to sleep. Then suddenly, he saw something outside his room. No rattle sound is heard, and going outside, he sees that a woman from his own house, the maid, whose name is Helen, is called to the door. Someone is playing from behind, then quickly do the work. After finishing, Helen fixed her clothes. After doing that, she goes away and hear Roger. Somehow, I suppressed my desires and went to sleep. Then the next morning, it's birthday. While doing this, he used to share his secrets, and then both of them were talking to each other. Then all the maids of the house would come to the riverbank, so both the brother and sister are hiding behind a tree. They hide, and then all the maids start talking to each other. We were doing this when suddenly, from the other side of the river, 3 men start passing by. And these 3. They were servants of Roger's house. Then all 3 of them, sitting across the river as she felt lighter. They start showing their tools to the maids. But Ursula was no less. And she too. I got excited and showed them my balloons and seeing all this happening. Roger also, hiding behind the tree and watching. The next day we see that Roger's elder sister, Elisa, is home with her father, and all the family members at home are welcome him. Then Elisa to everyone hugs, but only a hi from Roger. She says hello and goes inside. Then Roger comes to his. I am very disappointed because of this discrimination that happened with me, and Botha understands Roger's disappointment. She comes in, and to entertain him so she takes him to a church where both of them climbed up to the roof and killed their aunt. He starts listening to things, and his mind. Margaret confesses her sin to the priest at the church. She is confessing, in which she tells the father. She starts telling me that I have committed a huge sin. Actually, my nephew Roger I have come here for summer vacation. And ever since my eyes met hers. Since then, I have become a fan of her. And many times I found myself intimate with her. Despite this, I have imagined that all this Roger is hiding on the roof and listening to things carefully. He was getting very happy on hearing that, and starts to think that there is someone in this house who thinks of me too, and that I was thinking about it, when suddenly he came down from the roof, falls down, and his pot breaks. Then Margaret and Father Roger's mother tell him everything about it. Hearing this, Roger's mother became very angry. She goes and asks her servant to clean the house. She asks me to bring my fist. Then she shakes it, grabbed Margaret's fist, and said that you give him 10 slaps in the backside. This is his punishment, after hearing which Margaret flicks fist from Roger's ass 10. During this time, it starts hitting hard Elisa's fiancé. Roland arrives there, and he feels very sad to see Roger in this condition. My mind starts laughing, and now, after getting hit, that's why he starts sleeping on his stomach at night. But then he heard the sound of utensils again. So he goes out to see, and this time too, he sees that Helen. Someone is playing from behind, but we know it. I can't believe he is Mr. India, after all, but this time Roger, as well as Frank, were enjoying this view. That's why things to know about Roger Frank begins to enter the room where Frank puts his hand in his pants. I was watching the union of stars through a telescope. Then Frank sees Roger in his room. He gets shocked and leaves his room. After his departure, Roger also started looking through the binoculars. The moon begins to see the union of the stars, and he realizes that Frank is even worse than him. She is more horny. Then she has I get a book of porn stories, with which he goes away from there when he is going towards his room, some noises outside my parents' room. It can be heard, that's why it goes inside through the keyhole, tries to peek, but then Roland catches him peeping. Then Roger. I request him to please me. Don't tell your parents anything about this. I will do as you say. Hearing this, Role Rogers asked him to clean his car. It seems that in the next scene, we see that Roger is talking to his sister Alyssa, and Role was doing that. Then Role tells Roger to look. How dirty my shoes have become. It's nice to see, make it clear. But Roger is not doing that. When Role refuses, he gets angry and attacks Roger. Tells his mother about it, that this pervert was peeping into your room last night. Hearing this, Roger's mother becomes angry, and she asks Roger to move out of the house. Then Roger says that he gets an opportunity to do obscene things. Storybook by his sister Alyssa exchanges it with the book. Then he, hiding outside and watching Elisa read that book, he sees that Elisa is also reading that book. Here his heart starts bursting with joy. Roger's desires also get awakened. That's why he goes to Sula, who is in the kitchen with her, was working. Then Roger suddenly called Ursula. He grabs her from behind. Then Ursula gets scared, breaks a plate on his head, causing Roger can see stars during the day. Then Ursula sees that it is her Roger, and she is ready to be intimate with Roger. She agrees, but then another maid arrives. There comes, so Roger has to run away from there. Then we see that the postman comes there and shouts. Carr says that a war has broken out. A war has broken out. In fact, Germany had declared war on France, has made an announcement on hearing which all the people there, they gather there, and the next day they go to the village. All the men had to go to fight in the war. Roger's family starts partying at night, and when Roger finds out that all the men in his family are going to war, and all the women in the house stay alone, he seems very happy inside. Then the next morning, all the men left for war. That's why Roger is the first one. Ursula is caught in his trap. Ursula already likes Roger. That's why he should give green signal to Roger. She lets him go, and they both get intimate right there. Then the next day, we see Roger's Kate. We see she is sitting on the bank of a river. Then suddenly Roger also comes out of the river, and by enticing Kate with his words, he starts getting intimate with me on the riverbank. And now Roger's courage had increased, intimate with all the girls in his house. Then at night, we make plans to be. We see that Roger's aunt, Margaret Gold, goes to her room, but she sees that Roger is already in her room. I'm sitting there, and Roger says to me, I know you're a virgin, so I can help you. But first, Margaret. She refuses, but kisses me for a while. After that, she is unable to control herself, and both. After this, they start getting intimate there. We see Helen bringing tea and snacks. She comes to that door, but this time Mr. India was missing because he was also fighting. I had gone to fight, so I had no other option because he went straight to Roger's room. Now Roger also goes to fulfill his wish and starts getting intimate with her. Then the next day, when Bata and Roger were in the garden. While they were sitting, Roger noticed her big sister falls on Alyssa, so he immediately goes to her, and she also goes to Elisa, traps him in his net. But Elisa comes first. She refuses to do everything but porn. Because of reading stories, he also finds himself. I can't stop myself, and they both are right there. They start getting intimate. After that, we see that all the girls in the house stand in line, goes into Roger's room and hides herself. She leaves after satisfying me, and then one day, Alyssa Roger. After enjoying in the open, she tells him that I am pregnant. On hearing this, Roger would burst into tears. Then they both see that Roland. Actually, I have returned home by plane. The war was over, and all the men had returned. Had finished, and then Roger was thinking that how to get out before Ursula can see him. She comes close and says that I am also pregnant. I went, and after some time, her aunt also came. She says that I am also pregnant. Then Roger gets an idea, and he goes to Elisa and tells her that you please seduce Rowlett and do it anyhow, and then get intimate with her tonight. Roger goes to his aunt and says, please marry Frank, because he loves you so much, and if you take a lot of care, then Margaret will also agree. After that, she and Sula also persuades her to marry the servant. Then the next day, all three girls together. The marriage takes place, and no one even hears about it. It doesn't seem like news that what Roger did is wrong. Then after a few days, Roger's summer. The vacation is over, and he returns to his getting ready to go back to boarding school. While he is doing this, Helen comes there, and she tells him that I am also pregnant, on which Roger says, don't worry, I will arrange a groom for you too. I will do it, to which Helen says that there is no need for this. I don't need any man here. Then the next morning, Roger will go to his leaves for boarding school. And with this, the movie ends here is